What's up everyone, welcome back to Restore It. In this episode I'm going to focus on these lap welds carried out by a previous owner. A few of you have asked me why I'm butt welding instead of lap welding, and that's because I want my repairs to be invisible once they're painted. Whoever did this job didn't reapply any undercoating to the repaired areas. They haven't held up too well. Even after blasting, the rust has started to come back. As many of you suggested in the comments, I got myself a second grinder to save time switching between cutting and grinding. I also bought some wire wheels for removing the paint and cleaning the area faster. With the area clean of any paint and dirt, I marked a square around the weld and cut it out with a cutting disc. Now, I know I should have made the piece before I made the cut, but because the lap weld was so pronounced, it was hard to get my new piece to sit flush against it and mark a decent line. This just doesn't seem like a proper job to me, but hey, what do I know? With a cardboard version of the piece, I transferred it to metal and cut a slightly larger piece than I needed. I then shaped it with the vise, a hammer and a good amount of trial and error. I doubly made sure the area to be welded was as clean as possible before resting the piece into place with magnets. It was then tack welded 5 times to keep it in place. This was the first time I had the correct setup and tried overlapping the spot welds one after another. Although there is some blow through at the end, this is the first time I've tried welding like this and I was quite happy with the results. Does anyone know why there are little holes in the middle of the welds? A lot of you suggested that I cool the welds with an air compressor instead of a wet sponge, so I had the air gun on standby for every time I stopped. My piece was warping a bit because I think I was being a little bit impatient. I had to hammer it back into shape to keep it flush. Before we look at the other side to see how well it's penetrated, I have a quick word from our sponsor, Autodoc. As I'm sure some of you know, Autodoc is an online car, motorbike and truck parts superstore. Autodoc operate in 26 different countries across Europe and ship with trusted companies like DPD and DHL. If you need parts for your car, truck or motorbike at some of the cheapest prices available, you can rely on Autodoc's mobile app to order them on the go and have them delivered straight to your door with a huge 200-day return policy. With Autodoc's handy app, available on Android and iOS, you can quickly find the parts you need by selecting the location, choosing the brand and choosing the size using their refined search feature. Thanks to Autodoc for sponsoring this episode. Check them out at the links in the video description. Download the app today, save money and start maintaining your car yourself. Let's get back to the chassis. This is what the other side looked like, probably some of the best penetration I've had so far. Wait, what? In previous episodes I was worried about leaving too much of a gap. But I've come to realise you can leave quite a big gap and still weld it without issue. And there's the first one in place. I decided to save all of the welding until the end. These welds are much better than my previous ones, but I can still see a lot of room for improvement. Annoyingly, this lap weld was overlapping the lip of another piece underneath, so I needed to split the spot welds for the piece to come loose. The broken spot welds left raised areas that needed to be sanded down with a finger sander before the new piece would fit flush. I'd say shaping the piece to fit correctly is the hardest part of this for me. Even though my welding isn't great, it feels like I'm getting better. Making replacement pieces that look like the original metal can be very tricky. So I'm still pretty inconsistent with my welds, but I was quite happy with this one in particular. This big one was the one I was dreading the most. I probably looked at it for a total of half an hour before doing anything at all. Again, this one was overlapping the lip of another piece beneath, which made things a bit more complicated. I marked the lines and made the cuts, trying not to cut through to the metal directly underneath. I removed all of the undercoating around the area so I could more easily see what was going on. This piece was now only held in by the spot welds, but I couldn't see where they were. I decided to split the pieces with a spot weld chisel. Looking at this, I think we can all see that there's going to be rust on the inside. This is why I want to have the car dipped before it's E-coated. It will get to places the blaster never could. I removed the rust with a wire wheel and ground down what was left over of the spot welds. Not the cleanest of cut and not the simplest of shapes to make. I temporarily sealed the first two repairs and the lip of the piece underneath. This piece must have taken me around an hour to make. I had the old one to use as a reference, but making a piece that was originally machine pressed by hand is time consuming. After a lot of back and forth, the piece was finally good enough to get tacked in and then hammered into its final shape. I won't show you all of the welding, as there was what felt like a huge amount just for this one piece. With that piece in place, it was time to grind back all of the welds on this side. I wanted to just use the finger sander, but it was just too slow. Maybe I should try the air version, but that means compressor, and sometimes prolonged compressor sessions just can't happen. I carefully went over with a flap disc, making sure to take breaks to keep it cool. After not too much grinding, they had almost disappeared. I sealed them and turned the car on its side to have a look underneath. Overall, I was pleased with what I saw. Good penetration most of the way round. There were only a few spots I needed to cover from this side. I also plug welded the holes left from drilling out the spot welds. As you may have already noticed, I forgot to drill holes to replace the spot welds that held these pieces together. After making sure all of the welds were watertight, I punched 4 holes into the lip of this bottom piece. I then drilled 4 holes so I could plug weld them together. For some reason, all of these welds were worse than the ones I did on the other side. I don't know what was going on, I'm just glad the grinder exists. I also used some coarse Rodock finishing pads to get into the tight areas. I'm going to grind these welds further at a later date when the car isn't in my workshop and I can make as much noise as I like. With all of the welding done, I had one small hole to repair from all of the hammering, and a final flap disc before zinc priming for the last time. Although you can still see them, with more finger sanding I think they will become completely invisible. I was very happy with these repairs, possibly my best work yet. A few of you mentioned last episode that I forgot to drill the hole in the sill for the trim to attach to. You were spot on, thanks for reminding me. I worked out where the hole used to be and used a centre punch to centre the drill bit. I started by drilling a small hole and working my way up to the correct size. Looking at this, I'm thinking I'm still missing one hole. I'll have to get that next episode. Thanks for sticking around until the end. I hope you can see as much of an improvement in my welding as I think I can see. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time when hopefully I might have some panels from E30 Garage Norway. See you then.